All right. And we are live.
Welcome back to the MMA R&D podcast. We were just discussing about our plans to watch the Fight Island UFC in Abu Dhabi, which is not the Fight Island I was promised, not the Fight Island you were promised. I was promised Jeffrey Epstein's island. But instead, we're in Abu Dhabi, and it's indoors. So none of, but they did take a picture of the actual octagon outside, which was really
promotional only. Promotional.
Yeah, imagine being the guy that had to set up that octagon for no reason. Like, am I getting paid overtime for this? What the fuck? So anyway.
Also, you know the temperature out there? You know what the temperature is this week in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, we were discussing the temperature. It was a cool 117 during the day.
No, at night
97,
about 97 at night. Like, holy Christ! Like, yeah, don't have that one outside at night. I mean,
so for the fighters, I mean, on a technical note,
we didn't know because we were looking at it earlier today too, and we were talking with some guys. And we're like, are they gonna fight outside? And I was like, in my mind, for whatever reason, I knew Dana White had it indoors, but I also knew he put one on the beach. So I was like, maybe they're going to fight on the beach if it's nice. Like, if there's no rain, like there's no typhoon, you know, there's no like war going on nearby.
An outdoor wedding with a plan to go inside.
Exactly. And, but then I found out that it was going to be 117 and like the cage would melt your skin when you were on it. So that's apparently not the plan.
So normally in these very hot environments, it actually affects the fighters because in the arena you get pretty sweaty. But I think they're going to have no fans in there, so possibly this could be an air-conditioned Abu Dhabi event, which they had a big problem with last time. I believe it was very hot inside for the fighters. But we'll see. I mean, we're all kind of we can't really,
arena.
It's Yahtzee. We can't really factor that into our analysis. So.
But you should a little bit. You should a little bit because there's
to a small extent you can, but
if you come from a native climate that's super hot. Like it's the same thing in a way. It's probably similar. Like if you're from Mexico City, if you're from Mexico City or from like a mountainous region, and you're training at altitude, and your body's physically attuned to be in these high altitude regions, and you're there fighting a guy who's not, you're going to smoke him. Because like, I'll tell you, I flew to Colorado one time. I don't know what I was doing out there, selling something.
And you walked up a hill. And
no, I was training for the Chicago Marathon. And before, so I was trying to run. And I was like, okay, I'm in Denver. I'm going to go for like a 5-mile run. I made it about 1 mile. And I was totally shredded. I felt like I'd never run in my life. Like that really like sharp feeling in your lungs. And that was 1 mile. It's like not even 10 minutes in. And I was just like, I'm done. Like I'm walking back to the hotel and I'm getting a beer. And that was it.
and this is why the people pay to listen to our podcast.
No, but it's the same kind of thing. If you're from a region that's super sweaty, your body will get used to it in a way. Like you see people in Mexico City walking around in pants in 110 degrees.
Yeah, you're Rodriguez. He's wearing jeans to the beach, baby.
Yeah. In Chicago, 110 degrees, people would just be naked, just butt naked, and it'd be acceptable.
Yeah. So, factor that in as much as you can, I guess.
It's not a deal breaker, but I mean, you're going to see some dudes who are just fat and sweaty in there.
So I'm so excited about this card. I've got a proposition for you and for the listeners. We're going top to bottom, baby. We're starting off hot. We're going with fight number 1, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. And I'm sure that you had as much fun as I did watching the tape on Jorge Masvidal. Because that tape entails the Kimbo Slice fight from like 1997. So
I was watching him in his. I watched some clickbait today where he was like in his first ever fight, fighting some bum.
Yep,
and he actually looked. He looked pretty good fighting the bum. And then they like grappled, and I think he just popped him like one time. And then when they came up, the guy was like, "No, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done." He was just out of there. But honestly, I remember thinking of it. So like he took down Jorge Masvidal, and I was like, dude took down Jorge Masvidal. I was like, that's going to be like on the mantle one day, Yeah. And then he quit like a minute in, so maybe not.
Maybe not on the mantle. To be honest, I think that, would you be opposed if Jorge Masvidal was on the state of Florida's flag?
I
wouldn't be opposed.
It's probably fine, right? He's not really white, right? I mean, he's some kind of Latino. Like
he's Cuban. He's Cuban.
Oh, is it Cubano?
Yeah, dude. Jorge is like, honestly, should be just considered a legend in Florida. I mean, they don't have much going for them,
The COVID's wrecking them down there right now too.
But I mean, they can root for their favorite son, Jorge Masvidal. And honestly, so going back to the tape that, you can go back years on Jorge. And one of the things that I love about Jorge is his ability to adapt to the fight. I mean, he will change his style based on who he's fighting. And we have to factor that in to this fight because he's taking it on short notice.
And he's smart.
He's making a lot of money, and that's why he's doing it. But he's taking the fight on short notice and not a lot of time.
Yeah, they gave him the contract extension. Like, they basically said, okay, Jorge, like, we need you to slide into the DMs. Mm-hmm. Here's the money, or most of the money you want. You're going to go fight Kamaru. From there, we'll see what happens. Right?
But, again, Jorge is probably not in the best shape of his life right now, eating cookies and hanging out a little bit.
He said he had some pizza in Greece, or Rome, I think. Rome.
Yep. So he's coming in at a plus 215 underdog, and I know that half the betting public is going to think Jorge Masvidal is knockout Jesus, and he's just he just knocks everybody out he fights. He beat Nate Diaz. He KO'd Ben Askren in the best KO we've seen in a couple years. He knocked out.
That's one of the best ones. That is.
Yeah,
Can we just talk about that for a second. This podcast might go long too, but this is a great card.
By the way.
Sorry, this isn't going to be like a finely tuned one. Brought to you by Pellegrino, but also some cocktails.
Yep, a fine petite Syrah.
I just want to say the kneeing of Ben Askren. People were upset about it afterwards. Did he really have to punch him again? And I was like, absolutely need to punch him. Like, he's in there fighting a dude like to the stoppage. You should have punched him again after the ref stopped it. Like, all the trash talk, like, Jorge Masvidal is a real fighter, and that's awesome. And I'm glad. I wish he hit him again. Really, I thought I thought that the whole experience was just like you're just blown away. It's righteous, and you're like, take that crotch sniffer. It's like it feels good when it happens. And I'm proud of Jorge Masvidal. I wish he was my son. Like, he's amazing.
I mean, he really is. I think he's every UFC fan's like son. To some extent, like, we all love him for his service and just what he's done in the octagon. He's given us a lot of great moments. He's given us a lot of great fights. Again, like I said, watching the tape on Jorge is just like a freaking joy.
Awesome. You can't help smile. Like, and like the Nate Diaz shit going on.
I
get all riled up watching it.
So I mean, Jorge, for all of his Jorge-ness and his Jorge highness. He does fight really well behind a jab. He's an excellent defensive fighter. He has really underrated body kicks. He can hurt the body with his kicks. He does really well in the takedown defense area because he does what a lot of guys do, like very similar to Dustin Poirier's style of takedown defense, where he wall walks, he can hit the wrestler switch, or he goes to the guillotine. He has a good Darce choke and front headlock game off the guillotine. He's got rudimentary, like, I don't want to say rudimentary, but it's not complicated. He's like a meat and potatoes grappler, but he's very good at it. Like, he doesn't put himself into bad spots. He's got good darts. I mean,
the whole like the most shining example that you can talk about with his grappling, or maybe like his jiu-jitsu in general, is not so much that he's going to go out and look to like sub everyone left and right.
No,
he survived Damian Maia on his back for like 2 rounds. Like, Damian Maia was literally backpacked for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and Jorge just stood there and he was like, "I'm cool. Like, if he moves his arm, I'll move my arm." And he didn't panic and freak out. Not that I expect him to, but like a lot of guys in this position, they get tired. He's like, "No, I'm cool." And to me, and as that fight progressed, I think he ends up winning. But or not? Did he? I think he lost, actually. Did he? I can't remember. I looked at too many.
Yeah, he. I believe that he did.
Assist me.
I believe that he did. You'll have
Sorry,
to.
I didn't mean to segue. Yeah, I'll check it out. But if you watch the fight where he's against Damian Maia, that will give you all the Jorge Masvidal grappling credentials you're ever going to need. Because you see him basically, he loses to Damian Maia by split decision in 17. So again, a little further back in the career. But it was awesome. It was awesome. Okay, did Damian Maia backpack you? He didn't choke you. You survived the fight. If you don't get subbed by Damian Maia in a 3-round fight, you have won the fight.
Yeah,
like you're a winner. You're a winner in life. Like that's it.
That's why we love the Jorge Highness. I mean, he is just
the EMF move right there.
Yeah, he is a bad motherfucker. And we have to just say, with all the praising that we will do of Jorge, I think Usman is going to beat him, and and I think that Kamaru Usman is just a complete fighter. I mean, a complete animal of a fighter. He has excellent grappling, Khabib-esque in his takedowns against the cage, where he will look to trap hands. He will look to take you down, body punch you, beat you up. Has great relentless takedown attempts, something that I think Jorge is going to struggle with, because when you match the two up, yes, Jorge will hit that wrestler switch. Yes, Jorge can look for that guillotine. Yes, Jorge, will look to wall walk. But Usman, I mean, just like Poirier versus Khabib, Usman is going to be able to continue to drag him down, continue to dominate him on the ground. And, I think that against the cage wrestling is going to be a big, big factor for Usman in winning rounds. Now, is he going to finish Jorge? I don't think he will. I think it's going to be more round winning. And now, does Jorge have finishing potential in this fight? Yeah, Jorge can obviously hit his patented flying knee that's just become patented now. Jorge,
no way, that's never going to happen. You're never going to see that again.
Maybe not. Maybe not. But
not from Masvidal. You'll see it again. Some newcomer is going to
come But I'm just saying, Jorge has the finishing potential to beat anybody. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Usman's game against Jorge's style makes sense, because Usman, if you're going to stay behind the jab and stay against the fence, that's perfect for what Usman wants to do. He's going to throw big shots at you. He's got range. He's big. Look at Darren Till. Darren Till was doing really well in the Masvidal fight until he got KO'd by hand fighting the jab and throwing straight punches. And Usman could replicate that very easily. He's proven it in his fights. I mean, I just think Usman's going to be a real handful for Jorge. For Jorge to win the fight, I think he's got to get his body kicks going big time, and he's got to somehow negate the wrestling of Usman. But Usman's not going to get tired. He's going to keep coming after you. Usman's cardio is incredible. We saw that in the Covington fight. That's one of the most amazing displays of cardio on both guys. I mean, they went hard.
Fifth round knockouts are crazy rare. Yeah, that's not a thing.
Yeah, and Usman has just continuously become a better striker, and we already know that he has the incredible grappler and the style of fighter. And Jorge, coming from ATT, same camp as Dustin Poirier, kind of using the same ways to get up. I just think that Usman is going to be a big handful for him. I actually thought Burns was a tougher opponent for Usman than Masvidal.
Yeah, I did too. I thought the exact same thing. And again, it's on this card especially. Anyway, listen, you're going to see. It's easy to say, oh yeah, I like the guy who's minus 220. But on this card in particular, this card was built to be UFC 251 Fight Island, and they want it to be a draw. So there's going to be winners and losers, and there's not a lot in between. So for Usman, I look at it as listen, the UFC always wants long-standing champions. First fact, right? They're not looking to have a guy win and lose and win and lose. That's bad for the sport. They need a champion that can survive and be around for 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 years. They can sell T-shirts. They can sell tickets. They can sell PPV. Kamaru Usman's their guy. They've already sent some of the best at him, and he's winning and finishing people. Masvidal has everything going against him. Short notice, and for one thing. But Masvidal's wrestling isn't the same. His power is not the same. I mean, he has knockout power, but against probably aging fighters or guys who are cutting too much weight, if you look at the guys he's stopping, these aren't the cream of the crop. The cream of the crop are the Gilbert Burns, the Colby Covingtons, people like this. And we haven't seen that Masvidal has stopped these kind of guys recently. And in fact, you've seen the opposite, where Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has beaten him. Damian Maia has beaten him. Kamaru Usman, I think, is essentially undefeated. So if you're just going to look at it, I think this is kind of a no-brainer. I think the only way that Masvidal wins the fight is in the first round or two when he's fresh. He can throw as much power and as much heat as he possibly can for 2 rounds. I think he could hurt Usman. Usman's not going to lose until he gets to a point where he can't take the damage anymore and starts to go wobbly. Because the wrestling game is too controlling. It's too top heavy. It's oppressive. You can't hit him when he's doing that. But when he's striking with Covington, you can hit him. And you saw Covington did land a couple of shots that noticeably affected him. But that was a couple of shots over 25 minutes. He needs to get older before someone's going to be able to pepper him and drop him. And I don't think that it's going to be Masvidal on Saturday. I think that Masvidal, if he's going to win, needs to do a full-out blitzkrieg round one. Like, basically, he has to win a round 1 or 2. It's not going to be wrestling. It's not going to be cage defense. It's going to be, can you knock this guy out super early and just stop him? Otherwise, you're out. There's no way, because Usman will win the longer the fight goes.
Yeah, and it's just it's struggle, because when you watch Masvidal's tape, when he becomes a pressure fighter, which he did very well against Nate, he does tend to get hit more, and I think that Usman has power to kind of stop you a little bit in your tracks. I mean, listen, Usman is not like a one-punch KO guy, but his cardio is so phenomenal. I mean, it's just so incredible that he can continue to have power in the later rounds, and I think, like, man, he's just I don't see a lot of guys that can beat him. I think Burns was a better fight.
Burns has more ability and more youth probably to get involved. But this is actually a great case to talk about having like a veteran or like a what do they call it in golf, like the senior tour. Like they should have a senior tour in the UFC, and they probably don't have enough fighters to really do it.
Yeah, and I don't think Masvidal's quite there yet. I'm not. You're
not
really
quite, but like
hating.
No, I'm not. If you're Masvidal and you're fighting basically cans like Ben Askren, right? Like not super well developed UFC pedigree, you're getting wins and they look impressive and it's awesome to watch and it's super entertaining. But when you go against the cream of the crop, the Nigerian Nightmare, I mean, you're probably going to get steamrolled. And this is why they should consider having, because Masvidal, I just looked it up, he's 35 years old. That's like getting up there, you know, that for a UFC fighter to be at the top of the food chain. Yeah. And I think he has a place in the division, the UFC, everything. But
he's the BMF, dude. He's definitely got a place.
But, you know, that belt's not going to be in play when they fight. Usman has been texting Dana White all week. He's like, I want the belt. I want the belt. I want the belt. And he's like, the belt has nothing to do with this. Because I think that what Masvidal wants to do is fight Nate again, because they had a stoppage when they fought in the second round. I think he wants to fight him again and put the BMF belt on the line. And if Nate wins, then it's even more insane, because then there's like a trilogy in the works, right? So I think that's got its own life ahead of it.
Yep. Well, we'll move on to another awesome, absolutely phenomenal fight, which is our guy who we've been backing since the beginning, Alexander the Great. I don't know what his nickname is, but I'm going to call him Alexander the Great Volkanovski. That might be his nickname. But Max Holloway, just the beast. He's such a monster. It's probably the Great. I feel like it is, but
that's Alex Hernandez. Is Alex the Great?
Yeah, but he's coming in
he's the Great, Alex the Great.
Yeah, so he's coming in at minus. I've got him at minus 210 here. 5 dimes. What is it? Some people, mostly it's around minus 210, minus 220. But he's a 2-1 guy against Max Holloway. Obviously, this is an immediate rematch, which is always interesting. So 145-pound belt on the line, immediate rematch. So they've not fought anybody else since last time. So we can look right to that fight. We don't have to look beyond that fight. It's an easy tape study. We can just study the tape. And is Max going to make adjustments to Alex Volkanovski? Because Volkanovski won that fight convincingly. So what I saw in the fight was I saw Alex used low kicks because Max likes to be heavy on his front foot. He's boxing heavy fighter, so he's on his front foot. Max took out the front leg and threw punches behind the front kick, or behind the leg kicks. So he would go punch for punch with Max. Alex showed power. He used grappling to win rounds. Now, encouraging things for Max was that Max his takedown defense looked very good. When he was clinched, he looked very strong, and his cardio looked very good. And there was moments where Alex Volkanovski, who we'll just refer to as Volk, got a little tired. There were like 15-second increments. It wasn't a big thing, but he would get tired at times. And, you know, those were little moments for Max.
I think
I'm looking for positive for Max. I'm looking for positives for Max, because Volkanovski,
he might have been taking a few seconds off too.
And we bet on Volkanovski in that fight because we knew he was going to come with a mean game plan.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard not to, because at some point I think after he beat who was the like the veteran guy he beat? We were watching it. Let me see.
I'll look it up.
Chad Mendes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He knocked out Chad Mendes. We were like so impressed with the striking. I think.
So back in the day, this is in 2018. We see him fight Jeremy Kennedy, and we talked about this before. Like in a hotel in Cincinnati, we're watching this fight on an iPad, and we're like, "This dude is legit." Yep. And so we bet on him. So we're hot on this guy. Like we're like, he's knocking out Jeremy Kennedy, like he's out wrestling Jeremy Kennedy. And Jeremy Kennedy, for anyone who doesn't know, is essentially just like heavy wrestling all the time. I think he fights in like the one or something now. I don't even know. But he's just like all he was doing was like he's very, very aggressive in grappling. Anyways, we go to Darren Elkins. Darren the Trash Can Elkins, as I like to call him, but his real name is Damage. He's amazing. He's just like a human battering ram. Like you can beat the hell out of him, and he's coming back for more. I love it. Yeah. He beats Darren Elkins, and we're like, okay, right on, brother. Let's go. Chad Mendes gets announced, and it's like, ooh, like this is a step up, right? Because now you're not fighting like mid-level prelim guys. You're fighting an actual guy. He bust up Chad Mendes, and I'll never forget. I bet Volkanovski inside the distance on that. It was like plus 400, and I was having a great time. I told everyone how smart I was. Then he gets Jose Aldo. I'm like, dude's old. Like he's wearing out. I think he's definitely on the decline at this point. There's no argument about that. He's done with Jose, and it's like, okay, if you've beaten Jose, like this is it. This is the pinnacle.
Title shot.
And we're betting the whole way, and it's like I have to, and I didn't even do any kind of like analysis on it. I was just like, I think Holloway's incredible. I think he put on these like signature performance of a featherweight ever against Brian Ortega, because it was like truly like death by 1,000 cuts, and that's
Brian Ortega has still never fought again, has he?
No, he was training Halle Berry how to fight for a movie, I think.
Yeah,
but I mean, I saw that, and I was, if you haven't seen it, or if you have, watch it again. But that is like the best featherweight performance that I've ever seen, and it's just like this is like what a featherweight can do to you. And Ortega was bigger than him too, I think, at least heavier. Anyways, so we get there, he wins, and I thought the fight was close. I double checked the scorecards tonight before we had our call here, and the scorecards actually, if it had gone one round different on two of the cards, it would have been Holloway. So even though it was unanimous for Volkanovski, one judge just gave him all 5 rounds. The other 2 gave 2 rounds to Holloway each. But if they had given him 3 instead of 2, it's like completely different story, right? Because then Holloway wins, retains the belt, everything's the same. Volkanovski is the number 1 contender. So if you're telling me that we're 1 round away from being still the winner, I think it's a super close fight.
It's a toss-up fight, and Max can make adjustments to win. If he kicks, Max, you have to kick. If you kick and then punch behind the kicks, it's going to give Volkanovski a world of trouble, because that was the problem. Was he was so heavy on his front foot, and Max had moments when he went southpaw that was nice, where he confused Volkanovski a little bit. And I think Max in the clinch is very tough. If Volkanovski's coming straight forward, knees and elbows. I think Max can make small adjustments and that make a big difference. Now, the thing is about any of these rematch fights, though, we have to understand, no matter how close the fight is, no matter how minor adjustments can make, we have to assume that, Volkan, the fight's going to be the same. I mean, there's not a lot that's taking place here. So unless Max commits to, adjusting, Volkanovski is going to fight him the same way and continue to have success.
The only thing that has changed, though, in between it, is that there's like some weird stuff going on with Holloway where like he hasn't been training the same way and he hasn't been sparring. So that could play a factor, how much, I don't know. Maybe he just had to clear his head and have a break. I don't know. I think that, last time Volkanovski was telling him before, like on Twitter, he's like, I'm going to take you down 10 times. He didn't take him down once, I think. He was all striking. So this time, it's very likely that Volkanovski's like, I'm going to punch your lights out, and he takes him down 6 times. So they're going to have to mix it up. They're both going to have to mix it up, because it's like, it's a fresh fight. But the biggest thing that Holloway can do, in my opinion, in my humble Holloway improvement opinion, is when Volkanovski steps in, Volkanovski's way smaller than Holloway. And I just felt like Holloway never got the reach established and never made him pay when he was coming in. Because if you can get the jab going on a guy who's coming in on you, you can stop him in his tracks and then follow up with a combination. But the biggest thing is like Volkanovski would come in, and he kind of puts his head down to clash and then throw. And if you eliminate that, you're eliminating the smaller man and the man with the smaller reach's ability to connect. And I think that when he comes into clash, you need to almost back away or like let him come in and chase a little bit and then just establish the range again. That was the big thing I saw. And like, I thought
the range certainly played a part. Yeah.
I thought Volkanovski would win just because I think he's a badass, and I saw like training videos of him years ago now. I think he's awesome, and he's going to be awesome, and he's going to be around for a long time, regardless of what happens on Saturday. But I think Holloway like had some technical things that just like strategy things that didn't really pan out. And maybe he just couldn't get going. Maybe he didn't feel good. Maybe he was surprised by something. There's all kinds of things that could come into it. But like Holloway's super good, and I'm surprised that he won't be able to change some things a little bit.
Yeah, and so with that being said, because here's what we have to understand. Max was a 2-1, I believe, favorite over Volkanovski when they originally fought. Now he's a 2-1 dog. So you're telling me there's a 400-point difference between the first fight and the second fight? And, I mean, the value is certainly on Holloway. There's no question about it in my mind. I think Holloway can make minor adjustments to be very competitive in this fight. Obviously, the favorite should be Volkanovski, but 2-1 is a steep price.
And I'll tell you too, a lot of times historically, when you've got two guys who have fought or two women who have fought before, many times if it's two women who have fought before, the woman who's won in the past will win again. You don't see it, super often, especially at UFC level, where they've made such a drastic improvement in their game that they're now like at a whole different level and they smash someone. It's just not very common. People adapt slowly in this game. It takes years to get better. And I think that Volkanovski won, but again, it comes to judges' scorecards. You can Google it yourself, just type in their names and scorecards. You'll see it. It's super close. And I think the next one will be super close too, no matter which way it goes.
Right. So we, I think, can agree on the value on Holloway and move on. So now we get to Petr Yan.
3 championship fights in one night, man.
Love to see it. So Henry Cejudo.
I have to get a water.
Get a Pellegrino, our sponsor.
Yeah, I have a case of Pellegrino over there right now.
Love to see it. So you get Petr Yan against Jose. And if this was Jose even 10 years ago, would love this fight. But I love it now. I don't care. I still love it now because I love Petr Yan. I think Petr Yan is one of the best, smoothest pressure fighters that you'll see in MMA. And he's only 135, but man, this dude is a smooth pressure fighter. He can create angles. He uses his hands well. He's got tie clinches. He's got kicks. I mean, just how he moves people into a corner with his footwork and his feints and gets you to where you want to be before he busts your ass up. It's really pretty to watch. And the dude mentally just seems like real, I think he's, obviously Jose is Jose. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much analysis about Jose. I mean, he's been, if you don't know who Jose Aldo is, I mean, he's been around for a very long time. You can watch 100 of his fights. He's an amazing fighter. He doesn't leg kick anymore, really, which frustrates me because that was my favorite thing to ever watch was a Jose Aldo leg kick back in the day. But,
dude,
Jose
Aldo,
Jose
El Rey de Rio, the king of Rio.
He throws hard as hell after he slips. But what I think is going to happen in this fight is Petr is going to be easily able to bait out the hard shots of Jose, and he's going to counter, and he's going to hurt. Jose is going to win rounds, and I just think this is a pretty good fight for Petr Yan, and I'm betting on him.
All right, so same thing that we're talking about with Usman. Like the UFC has plans for these guys, right? It's not the Wild West. Like these fights aren't randomly picked. They're picking fights that are reasonable, but also that will benefit them in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Petr Yan and Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo has tried to get the belt like the last 3 fights, and like he can't get it together. He's too old. Something has happened to him. His game has changed. Like he just isn't the Jose Aldo that we know. Like back in the day, long time ago, when UFC magazine was a thing. I think they stopped it after like a year, but I used to buy a UFC magazine in the airport. And I would sit on the plane, and there's pictures of these like half naked dudes kicking bags and doing push-ups. And I'm reading like about where they're from. And there's one of Jose Aldo. He's got the big scar on his cheek, and it talks about how he got the scar. And I remember people were looking at me like kind of weird. Like I have like a shirt and tie on the plane. They're like, "What is this dude looking at?" People fighting in a magazine. Anyways, those days are long gone. Like the days of him running on the beach and having a purpose in that. Like he's a veteran. He's an old veteran. They need to drop him down like a caliber and let him just fight some newcomers and be a gatekeeper. Unless you won't do it. But I mean, his time's over. Like his time as a champion is over. Petr Yan's time is beginning. And Petr Yan, he's awesome. He's just incredible. I mean, the biggest thing you talk about when you're talking about his footwork and stuff was when he fought John Dodson. He whipped on John Dodson like as hard as any man has ever whipped on John Dodson. John Dodson, for anyone who's unaware, is the most squirmish, weird little like jabby, run around laughing clown in the octagon that's ever existed. He looks like a homeless man. I despise his fight style, and Petr Yan beat the hell out of him, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I was exulting watching Dodson just get like tuned up because he's so annoying to watch and he's always laughing. So, anyways, the Dodson thing, it gives me good memories. But Petr Yan is really, really good.
And he fought, he recently fought Faber. I mean, Faber,
good competition.
I was really surprised Faber even lasted that long. That I thought that was a credit to Faber that he lasted that long. But I mean,
his time's over too.
Yeah, I just think that even if you're fancy dancy betting models say Jose, I think that Piotr's the guy.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Also, DraftKings guys, it's a 5-round fight, right? So we talked about that a little earlier today. We had a sneak peek. The 5-round fight is going to play into his points quite a bit because I looked at it like kind of worst case scenario. He scored 80 against Dodson, and Dodson will literally run away from you. I think Jose, he's going to be careful not to get clipped too hard, but I think Jose's speed and timing is slowed down a little bit. I don't know if he's going to finish Jose, but let's assume he doesn't and it goes 5 rounds like the Dodson fight went 3. He could potentially go 5 rounds and score like 115. It's optimal. It's perfect. So I like him in scoring. I think he's going to win. I think they're going to have to find a new home for Jose. Like it's kind of a disgrace if they try to send him off to like the PFL or Risen or One or something. Jose Aldo's like a veteran. Like he's going to be a Hall of Famer, I'd guess.
Yeah, and I actually think that of course he's a Hall of Famer, absolutely first ballot baby. But he's also he to me just beat Marlon Moraes. Like I thought he won that fight.
Did you? I didn't think he won it. I thought it was a terrible fight. And people are still scared of Jose from like his legacy, but
I mean, he knocked out Jeremy Stevens, finishes Moicano. I mean, he's still beating guys, beats Edgar. I mean, his only losses are to, Volkanovski. I'm saying legitimate losses, Holloway, McGregor. Yeah. I mean, he's beating guys still. So,
right. So he's not like a tier 1 candidate anymore. He's 33. He's 5'7". I mean,
that's a lot of miles. I mean, he's been fighting for like since.
That's part of the problem. Like you can see it if you just look at his face. Like he's literally like something's changed recently, where he's just started to look different. And it might have been the 2 back-to-back beatings from Holloway.
It's also the weight cut down to 135. I mean, the guy's he was a big 145er, and now he's fighting down at 135. He said he only eats salad and
that was crazy.
Dude, that dude has to have the worst attitude on earth.
We talked about that too. It's like
drink water. That's all he does.
They say, as you get older, the new theory is like you should go up in weight. Mm-hmm. So you have your power, but not as much speed. But because you come from a lighter class, you'll have more speed than the naturals at that class. He's doing the opposite. He's just living on like the topping of a Burger King burger. And none of the carne, right? It's like this is not a great scenario for him. And also the thing is, too, is like just realistically, the mileage. In 2014, his run came to an end. It's 2020. It's almost 2021. And now he's fighting all the killers at the top where he starts to fade off. It's like, I don't think that he faded. I think his body just started to fade. I think his career just started to come to a close. You're fighting Conor McGregor, Frankie Edgar, and Max Holloway twice in a row. It's like, yeah, that's going to put a few miles on you. Like, I mean, you can't go forever. It's a young man's sport. And I think, right now he has all the skill and technique in the world, but the finishing ability, especially in a championship fight, I don't see it.
So, I mean, we both got Petr. So we'll move on to Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. And I will say that Rose is one of my favorites. I'm very biased. I think Rose is.
Hey, you're super biased about this.
Yeah, I love Rose. I think she's an excellent striker. I think she's one of the smoothest strikers. I love her footwork. I love her angles. She just is a really, really powerful striker. I mean, there's not a lot of bad things I can say about Rose because she's a crafty grappler. Listen, she held on to a Kamaru grip and she got spiked on her head. I mean, it happened.
Yeah,
she let go.
Weird thing.
It was a weird thing, and she hasn't fought since. So now they wanted to do this rematch. They were really into this rematch. So, okay, so let's do it. Andrade, like her for like her as well, but she's a completely different fighter. She's a straight line bulldog type fighter.
It's more my style.
Like little arms, and it's gonna be power versus technique, I think, and that's kind of the fight.
Well, so without getting into like too many details,
Rose is a 2-1 favorite, by the way.
Yeah, that's the insane thing. So if you're Rose Namajunas and Daniel Cormier is screaming your name, you're great. You're winning fights, right? People love you because you're like this little feminine girl who's just whipping on people, and it's awesome. But you just got spiked on your head. You're out for a year. You're like questioning your will to fight. You're gonna go fight the same girl again, and now you're the favorite. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if someone just beats you hard in the second round, she just spiked her. I don't see how you can come back. Like, it was a total fluke. It's fine. And the only backup for that is like maybe she landed more strikes in the first round. But if I look at Andrade, she's beaten some of the people that Namajunas has lost to. So it's also like, what are we doing here? And also, Andrade scores really well on DraftKings. Like, she's over 100 points in every single one of these wins. Like 150 for a woman to score 155 in the modern era or before they tweaked the striking, is pretty good. And she's got multiple, like 120, 110. I think Andrade is no joke. I think she likes to wrestle. I think her game plan is much simpler than last time. I think last time it was like, let's see how the striking goes, and then we'll go from there. I think this time it's going to be like, just throw her on the cage, get her down, and beat on her. Because I don't think Namajunas is going to have like a triangle for her or something, from the back. I think Namajunas looks nice and crisp and smooth in boxing. Totally agree. I love it. In fact, I think it's very nice. All the clean down the pipe striking is like some of the best stuff you can ever watch. But when you get the grappling involved, that's where she goes upside down. And I think that I don't care what the odds say. I think this is another like 50-50 because I don't feel super confident in Rose, especially her attitude after some of the conversations. And I don't feel super confident in Andrade because she got dropped by Zhang over in China while I was in China, by the way. I think it was maybe it was a week before, but it was like right when I was going there. I remember it happened. And we saw Weili Zhang win. I was like, that's cool. Like, but anyways, again, I think it's like a 50-50. I think these people are insane who's go, Rose is going to be the favorite 2-1 after just getting dropped on her head. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And I mean, so one of my biggest DraftKings scores ever, shout out to me, was when I had Jessica in that fight against Rose. And I felt lucky because that fight didn't look so good at the beginning. But then,
you're the king of dogs too. You're the king of dogs. You've scientifically analyzed every dog possible.
Yeah, I mean, and Jessica, I mean, there's value, man, and there's certainly value in her DraftKings line, 7,200. I mean, what can we say? Rose is the rightful favorite. If this fight, it's a 3-round fight though, so I mean, you're gonna see Jessica go all out. for 3 rounds. I mean, it's a 3-round fight as opposed to the.
Yeah, sorry. So that's the thing too. It's a 3-rounder, and from a DraftKings point of view, again, I wonder a little bit if this is something you really want to mess with, because if we look at it and we say, okay, like let's just say theoretically that Andrade holds Namajunas against the cage and burns a lot of time off the clock, and no one gets finished. This could score terribly. Mm-hmm. This could be like a 70-point score, and especially because if Andrade goes, I'm going to try and repeat history and get the grappling going and do it. I think there's a good chance that it just stall.
Could be, but if she continues to get her down, she could score a lot of points as well. And obviously, if Namajunas, has a really good game plan in terms of keeping the fight on the feet and just getting a lot of strikes off, it could be. But I don't really like Rose for DraftKings. Betting, like if you really love Rose, like I do love Rose. I mean that you can go.
Are you gonna bet on her? You're gonna bet on her straight?
I mean, I might put her in some, some stupid parlays with a bunch of different people, just because I wanna root for her, But
yeah, I'll tell you what, I will cheer for both women to fight. Like I'll cheer for both women to fight. I think it's gonna be a great fight. It's a great women's fight too.
It's honestly, could you imagine that this is the 4th fight on the card and it's a 3-round fight? Like this is an awesome card.
Yeah. And it's a great women's fight because you have a very good striker who throws high volume against probably a very good wrestler, grappler kind of style. It's a great matchup, and either person could win. It's just who's going to have a little more gusto that night. Like it's going to be great.
Yeah, so I think we agree that the value is probably on Andrade's side.
Yeah, I do.
All right, so we'll go to Paige VanZant against Amanda Ribas. This one will not suck to watch for a couple reasons. You take it away.
I mean,
this is the Dana White special. This was the Epstein Island special, brother.
We gotta get Sun Tzu on here sometime because he is like the king of women's MMA, and I am sure if you were to count like his comments on the women's fights this week, he would be losing his mind. He's like a women's UFC MMA like aficionado. Well, he loves hot MMA fighters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at both their Instagrams, to find out how their weight cuts are going, and they appear to be going well, so that's great. And shout out to Dana White for booking them for all the creepy dudes in the audience. So.
The only reason why
the lucky few in Abu Dhabi that get to witness this, the lucky few, lucky few in Abu Dhabi. Amanda Ribas is like minus 8,000. Listen, Paige is actually not
minus 8,000.
she's minus
850.
Amanda Ribas is a freaking handful, and she's gonna. I think it's obvious why she's the betting favorite. She should win this fight. But listen, Paige is generally in pretty exciting fights. She likes to strike. She likes to stand up. Could be a good time.
All right, let me give you the real breakdown on this.
Okay, so, you take it away because I can't get past the weight cut.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at the weight cut photos. I don't really care.
Yeah, look at your Instagrams. You can find out.
I don't have an Instagram. I'm just a old man who sits in his basement talking about fights. So here's the problem:
Abu Dhabi few that get to watch this live.
Paige VanZant and Amanda Ribas is a fight that like reminds me of when Brock Lesnar fight Alistair Overeem like 12 years ago, 15 years ago. It's one of those fights where you're like, this is
for lunch.
This is a fight where it's a real fighter fighting someone who's not a real fighter. Ooh, and you know 100% how this is going to go. And it's just a matter of like how fast does she retire afterwards. In fact, if you can verify this too on Twitter, I tweeted Dana White and I said this fight is ridiculous, and Alistair Overeem is going to KO Brock Lesnar into retirement. And that following weekend or whatever, he literally retired after he got KO'd with like a liver shot by Alistair Overeem. Like I called it.
You're calling the Paige VanZant retirement fight?
I'm calling Paige VanZant TKO retirement.
Okay. Retirement fight.
And for the only reason is I don't think she's a real fighter. I got like an update on Facebook that she had a new line of Reebok shoes, and it was like all over my Facebook. I couldn't get away from this thing, and I clicked on it, and I'm like, "What is this?" And she's like, "Hey guys, I have 44 pairs of shoes." And then she's laying on the bed like half topless with the camera going down her shirt, and I was like, "This isn't a fighter. Like this just isn't someone who is going out there ready to kill." Like she's trying to market herself as this hot, sexy thing. She's sending like nude photos with her husband on like we're quarantining naked. It's like them cooking with like pans and stuff in front of us. Like none of this is training. None of this is learning how to get better at not sucking. And to be clear, she sucks as a fighter. She is terrible. She throws karate kicks. The hey yeah, and it misses 9 out of 10 times. The Beck Rawling kick to the head was a total fluke, and Beck Rawling is like atrociously bad. Beck Rawling belongs in some kind of like underground dojo where you're betting non-American dollars, or maybe not even dollars, like credits that are used for other illicit services. Correct. I mean, this is like total nonsense fight. Amanda Ribas has beaten quality people. She's beaten Mackenzie Dern. Like, I mean, she's fighting for real. She's 3-0 in the UFC. Paige VanZant is just a marketable blonde that wants to be a fighter some days of the week. That's my prediction. It's not meant to hit on women. I'm all for beautiful blondes, but Paige VanZant is not.
Amanda's not so hard to look at either. So don't feel too bad about that pick.
I married a brunette, so I mean I'm totally fine with the brunette thing. Yeah, but I'm just saying Paige VanZant's not a real fighter. She's gonna get TKO'd. She's gonna retire. She's talking, I want more money. It's like, you can't be asking Dana White for more money when you lose 3 out of your 4 fights. Like, if you suck at fighting, why would he give you more money? Because you're blonde? It's great that you're pretty, and it's great that you Instagram it, and it's great that we can all have a look at you once in a while. I could care less when it comes to betting, though. It's like, Ribas is the rightful champion. She's going to retire this girl. I'm calling it right here, right now. Paige VanZant retire.
Champion. Wow. So you think that Ribas is
sorry, no. Maybe in the future. But I may have gone off. But the champion in this fight.
Yes. In this fight. So we have Amanda Ribas. Okay, so now we get to
I can't get more worked up. It's a fake fighter versus a real fighter.
We get to jump into the real.
Also for DraftKings, if you want Ribas, it's fine. If you want to be a total drunkard lout, take Paige VanZant. But Ribas is fine. I wouldn't bet on her though. Like one thing for anyone who's like really new to betting, don't bet on Ribas in Vegas. Like minus 825 is insane. You just should do it because the odds are if you bet that thing 10 times, you have to hit all 10 times to make like a small profit. It's not worth your time or energy. You'll lose in the long run.
Okay. Let's go to Volkan Oezdemir versus Jiri Prochazka. What do you know about Prochazka? Because I think Oezdemir is really actually stepping down quite a bit to fight this guy.
Yeah, totally. So the pedigree of this guy is that he's the undefeated M1 global champion. Now, M1 for you old school guys are like, hey, that's Fedor quality, right? It's not. M1 has become like the Russian regional circuit.
Yeah, Fedor when the fights were fixed.
well, I think Fedor won for 10 years. I don't think they're all fixed. Croker, was in charge of M1. Croker's now in charge of Bellator. So he jumped from regional to big city. But the thing is M1 is just like a regional circuit. It's like not amateur. I mean, they're professional guys, but it's really, really local to Russia. So this guy's undefeated. He's got like 8 fights total, something like that. It's not like 100 of them.
He's been in Ryzen, by the way. So he hasn't. It's not M1. It's Ryzen.
Oh, sorry. But he's the undefeated champion, is he?
Yeah, I believe he's a champion, and he's fought guys that names you may remember.
No, sorry. You're right.
Holloway, Fabio Maldonado,
the guy fighting Leonardo Santos is the M1 champion. I got it. Roman Bogatov. We'll talk about it later against Leonardo Santos. Jiri Prochazka, you're right. It's sorry, I don't know how it says Prochazka. He's the Risen guy. Here's the problem with him. And I get the wrong guy. He is fighting Risen, and he's basically fighting cans. He's fighting like 40-year-old men. Fabian Maldonado, who was in the UFC like 10 years ago.
Mo. Shout out to King Mo. Love King Mo.
Yeah, he fought King Mo to like a decision or a third round stoppage or something. Here's okay. So the quality of guys that he's beating are very low. I mean, this is like bottom of the barrel for his size and age. The thing I don't like about him technically is that he's a counter puncher that pretends like he's going to engage. So what he does is he puts one leg out, he leans his head over real deep, and he keeps his hands low. So he's like baiting you to hit him. And what he does is then he just leans back and he throws like a check hook. He knocked out CB Dalloway, but CB Dalloway had shin problems before fighting Hector Lombard, and he got disqualified like over a year and a half ago. It looked like he barely touched CB Dalloway, and Dalloway went down. So for a highlight reel, you're like, wow, this guy's hot stuff, right? He's not. He's probably got average power for his size. He has a terrible style that has no defense. He's trying to bait people to counterpunch him. And what I saw was that when people actually come to punch him, it looks bad. And he also looks weak on the ground. He has no grappling, no wrestling, no nothing like except for this like kind of weak counter striking style. Volkan Oezdemir is a clean, like pipe cleaner puncher, right? He's going to come in clean. Yeah. I think he's going to light him up. I think you're going to see this dude eat a lot of shots or go out.
Volkan Ozdemir's only legitimate, I'm not saying that his loss against Dominic Reyes or his loss against Reyes or Smith is not legitimate, but his only fight where he got dominated in was against Cormier. So I do like Oezdemir. I think this is a huge step down in competition. I think
big time.
This is if Oezdemir doesn't finish this guy, we have to have questions. But I like Oezdemir.
Oezdemir's been in a lot of split decisions, which is probably unusual for a 205er, right? But he's split decisions Rakic. Rakic is good. Rakic is strong. He's powerful. He's split decisions. Whether or not he won or not, for real, it's either way. It's a really close fight with a really powerful up-and-comer who could challenge, John Jones if he ever comes back or whatever. He stops Latifi. Latifi looked bad. But then Reyes, he has a split decision loss. Reyes beat John Jones when he fought him. They just didn't give him the belt. He loses to Smith in a choke. He loses a TKO to Cormier. The choke was in the third round at the end. Smith wins. Before that, he's blasting heads. Jimmy Manuwa, Serkinov, these are all legit guys. These are the most legit guys in the division today. Now, if we're going to look at Jiri Prochazka, and again, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but he's fighting 40-year-old men that are getting ready to file for Social Security. They're looking for life away buttons, in case they fall down the stairs. It's not the same caliber at all. It's totally different.
Yep. So let's move on. We like Volkan. Muslim Salikhov, the king of kung fu, Mr. Jab in. He loves to dart in and mess with people. Loves kind of like his fight style a little bit against Zaleski dos Santos. Really, this is a pretty cool fight, if you ask me. If they're correct, if Dos Santos comes correct, he's pretty tough. And so is Salikhov. This is a pretty cool fight, to be honest with you. This could be a good one.
Okay, so the breakdown on this is if you just go on Fight Pass or YouTube or MMA Core, the illicit underground MMA viewing website, whatever the hell that thing is. I feel like it's in Russia. It's got to be in Russia. But if you look at the last fight against Laurani Starpoli, I think the Italian guy, against Muslim Salikhov, that's basically the little league version of what's going to happen on Saturday. So I think he beat Starpoli. Starpoli, though, is basically a real rangy, circular striker. He likes to throw a lot of spinning attacks, a lot of kicks, big, shift kicks in the air, very long distance, and that's all good. He's fought some kind of prelim style guys. He's beating them. He's moving along. Salikhov he does two things. He covers up in a nice defense. He throws hard overhand rights, and he throws hard spinning back right kicks that will come up on your right side of your head. That's all he does. He'll plod at you, and he'll throw power, and he'll kick with power. And a nice spinning kick's good. But Starpoli is a weaker version of Zaleski dos Santos, right? So, sorry, I can't even say this guy's name, man. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. He actually finishes guys with this kind of a style. So this is another fight for Salikhov where it's going to be very similar, except he's going to get hit harder and faster and more often. The strike differential is like over 3 strikes per minute for Dos Santos. I think there's nothing that Salikhov can do except lose.
Okay. We're on Dos Santos. I don't, to be honest, I want to, like Salikhov does some interesting things in there. Like just kind of some of his strikes are just a little weird. He's like a Sansao guy. He was like a major Sansao champion. So he does do has some interesting striking, a little bit unorthodox at times. Dos Santos also has shown some grappling. So I think this could be an interesting fight. I'm not writing Salikhov off like totally. But
I mean, listen, anyone can win any night. Like you can be you could be a 10,000 to 1 and the guy could win.
A situation where you got Dos Santos at plus 115 and Salikhov like minus 130, minus 125. So, Dos Santos
I think
from that standpoint of betting.
I think largely though, and maybe I'm just thinking of it wrong. I'm looking up right now. I think that Salikhov though beat Staropoli. And if that's right, that would be the precedent for people to say he's going to beat Dos Santos. Because Staropoli and Dos Santos have a similar style, but Dos Santos is like much, much, much better. And also, and it is true, so he beat him in a decision. I just think that, when I look at the notes I have here for the night, Muslim Salikhov has a power spin kick. Great. Like, you can only throw that, 4 times in a fight before you get tired and people see it coming. Yeah. He has low output, like real low, especially compared to Dos Santos, and he has no grappling. Like, no offensive grappling that he wants to initiate. I just don't think it's enough, like, tools in the toolbox to take out a guy who's super dynamic.
Agreed.
Unless you hit it once. You could always hit it once. Buzzer beater. Good night.
Makwan Amirkhani against Danny Henry. I hate Makwan Amirkhani because he has no cardio. I hate betting on him because he's going to look great in the round 1, and then anything after that, he's going to literally just lose every second of every fight after he gasses out. He's 2-1 favorite. Power to you if you bet him. You're braver than me. I just will never bet on this guy.
Yeah, so I took They took Shane Burgos when they fought.
They don't run in Finland, apparently. They never run.
Where is he on DraftKings? I'm trying to... Oh, here. Yeah, so I took him again when he fought Shane Burgos. I took Burgos. I didn't think he was going to... Burgos won. The thing is, the thing about Makwan Amirkhani that I tend to forget is, like, he's not actually a huge striker. Like, I always think of him as, like, this, like, stand-up striking guy. And maybe it's because of the Burgos fight or when he fought Jason Knight, he was, like, standing for all 27 strikes he threw. But it's mostly ground. Like, he's mostly attacking and going for takedowns. And for whatever reason, that's not how my memory works. But when I watch the tape and I look at it, that's what it is. So you got a guy who's going to at least work some amount of takedowns in. He's averaging, like, 3 takedowns per fight right now against a guy in Danny Henry. Danny Henry looked real bad against Dan Iggy when Dan Iggy got him on the ground. Striking, he looks weird. He looks he looks exactly like Hooker. He looks like Hooker's twin. But in this, like, physically, like, their faces, they probably have, like, the same mother somehow. But their striking is totally different, but they look identical. So check your 23andMe or whatever and get back to me. But yeah, his striking is weird. I don't like it. He stands super tall. He slowly bounces from leg to leg, throws one shot at a time. He looks like he's like a strong guy, but
did drop and sub Hakeem Dawodu and beat one of the Tamer brothers. So
the Bad Tamer. He beat the Bad Tamer.
But Dawodu's a real win.
That was like 6 fights ago in Dawodu's career, though. And Mean Hakeem, I think, has changed a lot over those fights.
Agreed.
I think that was an early Mean Hakeem. Maybe not. Maybe it was just Hakeem. It wasn't Mean yet.
So tell me if I can bet. Tell me if I can bet on Danny Henry, because I will not bet on Amirkhani.
Here's the thing.
If I lose all my money and don't win the $1 million on DraftKings because Amirkhani burns me, then so be it. I hate him.
Here's the thing. If Danny Henry beats Makwan Amirkhani, I think it's going to be a really bad split decision, striking-based decision. Because Makwan is going to get 3 takedowns in this fight. Probably is going to try and get 1 every round. If that happens, I think there's a good chance that Danny Henry gets subbed. The defense that I saw against Danny, and it was short, was so bad that I was just like, I don't think you have what it takes. Like, I think you're a British striker. I think you came from cage fighters. I think people know your name. And also then against Hakeem, he's like just in like a crazy guillotine to darts to guillotine, and he ends up choking out Hakeem. When Hakeem was out of the choke several times, like the guy's all over the place. I think he's sporadic at best. I don't think he's going to stop Makwan. I think Makwan is going to, at some point, just get him down and hold him. And I think that he's going to buy rounds and win. Also, here's the other thing. Amirkhani scores terribly. In his wins, he scores between 60 and 80 points. Do you want that on DraftKings? As a favorite? No. So I'm with you in fading him. If you want to do a little Danny Henry, it's totally possible. And also, here's the other thing, too. Makwan's not that young anymore. Let me look it up. He's not like 27 years old. He's 31. So he's probably not like chinny yet, but it's coming. I mean, also he just got through a battering with Shane Burgos, our boy, just laying it on him. So, I mean, he might not be feeling great after a few shots, but time will tell.
Strangely, this fight opened at like plus 115, and now it got bet up to plus 164. So that's a little bit of line movement in Makwan's favor, whether I agree with it or not.
But here's the thing: wrestling will win rounds. Like, it just will. If you get the takedowns, you're going to win rounds. I don't particularly like Amirkhani. I don't think he's going to score well if he wins. If Danny Henry wins, though, he might score just as bad. So
let's get to someone I do absolutely love. This is an old school UFC fan's dream to see one of our sons, one of our favorite sons, Leonardo Santos.
Yes.
The man himself came out of nowhere, somehow fighting not for years, decides to fight Stevie Ray, who we bet on. Of course, we bet on Santos, and he, finished him in round 1. This is a guy who KO'd Kevin Lee. This is a guy who
Thank you, sir.
Subbed Anthony Rocco Martin. This is a guy who subbed George St. Pierre via armbar in ADCC in 2000.
I just want to say, Leonardo Santos es verdad.
Fight. This man can fucking fight. I don't care if he's just been eating cookies and hanging out. I don't know if he's ever lost in the UFC, but this fool.
You know what I think happened? I think he was sitting on his couch down in Brazil somewhere, and he was like, "These guys are trash. This new era trash is trash." He's like, "I'll whoop on everybody," and they were like, "Oh yeah, why don't you go train?" He's like, "I will." And then next thing you know, he's over in England and he's beating on Stevie Ray, and it wasn't that long before Stevie Ray went nights out. So yeah, Leonardo Santos is the greatest of the Ninja Turtles. I'm glad he's back. I hope he goes on just a terrible crematorium run where people are going in body bags. Roman Bogatov, who I incorrectly was talking about before, he is the undefeated M1 champion. But as I also said before, M1 is not what M1 used to be. M1 used to be like Bellator. It was big because Croker was running it and pumping it up. It's a regional circuit now. So you've got Leonardo, the Master Turtle, against a guy who's undefeated in 8 fights in Russia. I watch his tape. There's not that much of it. He looks fine. I just said that real weird, but he looks fine. But I think that realistically, what his game plan is like he's going to come in. He throws lunging strikes where he literally is like head down, charging in, trying to connect. So what that tells me is your footwork sucks, but you've devised a way that you can still connect punches. And the way you've devised it is by charging in head first and throwing overhands, which is okay in Mother Russia. But against Leonardo Santos, Leonardo's going to be like, please take me down. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome down there.
Imagine armbarring a 2009 George St. Pierre. Imagine that.
He's going to be like, please, let's go in the sewers. I was born there. I was mutated there. I want to exist there. Come with me. I'll show you the way. So he's going to take me down. And I think what's going to happen is I think this guy's going to come in like a boar. He's going to come in head down. I think Leonardo Santos is probably going to pop him or throw a knee hard when he comes down to take him down. And from there, I think he's going to take him down and then sub him. And I think that Leonardo Santos is awesome.
Let's bet on him.
In fact, I'll make this outrageous claim right now. I will bet on Leonardo Santos for his next 4 fights, regardless of odds, regardless of opponent. I'm not even going to look. If someone in Vegas can set that up for me, I'd like to put 500 cash US dollars on Leonardo Santos for his next 4 fights, each independently. I'm totally in. I love it. He's like a bad dude.
Oh man, they're gonna be screaming in Abu Dhabi, man. They're gonna be screaming for Leonardo. Inshallah, and Leonardo Santos, boy. Let's go.
Leonardo is the truth, and I'm glad he got off the couch and came to show some of these punks it's up. Because I'll tell you, there's a lot more UFC fighters than there used to be. They ain't all better.
Yeah, that's true. And so we're going to find out with Bogatov, and he's going to get smoked. So Grishin and Tybura, what do you think, sir? Because I think me and you have the same thoughts that Maximus.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie.
It is. But that's my analysis. I'm just going to scream.
that's your analysis.
There's not a lot. I mean, you know, how much tape we're going to do, right? Like, Tybura is not very good. Fighting a debut fighter. What do you think of Maximus?
Yeah, so the problem here is that Tybura is basically done. Like, his chin is gone, and you can see it in his fight history. He's getting knocked out. And in his last fight, he fought Sergey Spivak. If you don't know who he is, that guy fought like basically like WWF guys in his father's house, and they called them MMA fights. Like, he was fighting like 45-year-old guys that looked like they were like movie stars when they came out, and they just let him like hit him in the head for a while and then called it TKO. So, and you can see that as he entered the UFC, it didn't get much better for Spivak, obviously, but Spivak sucks. Before that, Augusto Sakai, or I think he's Japanese. No, he's Brazilian.
No.
I always think he's Japanese, but he's Brazilian. He blasts Tybura. He's not a guy who blasts. Like, he fought against Fangtooth, Arlovsky, and it was like a decision, right? And it's like Sakai is not a power puncher. He's an undersized heavyweight who throws like medium strikes. I mean, there's nothing special about the guy. And you're telling me that Sakai knocked out Tybura? It's like Tybura's chin is gone. That's the whole story. And you can see in 3 of his last 4 losses, it's been TKO or KO. And it's been early. It's not, I mean, one was in the 3rd round with Derek Lewis. That was a while ago in 18. This dude's toast. Tybura's done. He needs to take off a lot of time and go fight in like LFA or something, but he's done. And the fact that you're fighting Spivak level guys to a decision, you're toast. Maxim Grishin, I think, a little bit unknown. There's very short footage on him. It looks like he basically throws power punches, comes inside, and throws heat. He's a big guy. I think they're going to look similar in size. Maxim's younger, more muscular. And I think really the whole plan of this is like a fade on Tybura against a guy who can actually hit him hard. Could Tybura like somehow fiddlewinkle him and like win with skill? Maybe, but probably not. Like that's I don't even see a way that can happen. I think what's going to happen is it's either going to be a decision because Grishin has like some shakes, he's a little nervous, or Grishin's going to pound him. And also, I think with Tybura's chin being weak, I think there's a high chance that it's just a TKO where he just crumples and it's over.
Yeah, I think Grisham's going to put him away here. That's my call. Come at me later if it doesn't happen. Paiva versus Zhumagulov.
Yep. Who, by the way, Paiva looks just like a friend of ours. So
shout out Brian Maples.
You know who you are.
Chicago police.
Okay.
Chicago.
So I cannot say this name right, but it's not. It doesn't even look Chinese. It's Russian, but the guy looks Chinese. Zhalgas, Zhumagulov, and Raulian Paiva. Here's the backstory. Zhumagulov was in like M1. I think he was fighting. He looks okay. He looks athletic. He looks young. He looks sharp. He has his bad output. His wrestling defense is not great when he's down the ground. Basically, he looks athletic and he looks like he can throw with a little bit of power, but he doesn't throw enough, and he's not orthodox enough to like really put a plan together. It's always a wild scramble followed by a power shot, and then a wild scramble followed by a power shot. That's not a formula to win long term. Paiva is probably going to be taller, a little bit bigger frame, skinnier. They're going to get into striking exchanges, and I would expect Paiva is probably going to land more strikes, cleaner strikes, higher volume, and win a decision. Paiva also, in some of his last fights, if you just look at his record, he has some like kind of some decisions that are, if you didn't watch the fights, might look bad. But in one of those fights when he was fighting against Rogerio Bontorin, it was a TKO cut where he basically just got kneed in the head and then punched, and his whole eye was like torn open. And so they stopped the fight. That's not the guy's fault. Like, you shouldn't have gotten kneed, but like that's not his fault. Kai Kara-France was a legitimate split decision, close fight. Kai Kara-France pretty good.
Yeah,
De La Rosa sucks, knocked him out. So I think Paiva has a bright future as like a light on his feet kind of striker.
Yeah. The only thing I see with Paiva is that he keeps his chin high. He's fast. He's accurate. He has good clinch work. I don't know much about his ground game, Paiva that is. But, obviously that's a deficiency in Zhumugulov's game. And, Zhumagulov, he likes high-paced fights, likes to slip punches and go to the body. Paiva should win this fight, I think, unless he gets caught with his chin up. That's what I see with Paiva. If his chin kind of gets up in the air at times, and I think that's going to hurt him later down the road.
Or like a weird scramble. A weird scramble could end up in a rear naked choke.
Zhumagulov doesn't appear to be like that great of a grappler.
No, he's a striker. What I see is he's basically just going to try to strike. He's not going to try to force the wrestling.
Now, this is an interesting one for DraftKings. I don't think Paiva is going to be very, very highly owned. Do you think Paiva can get a finish here?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably
not. Yeah, because Zhumugulov's more of a counter striker. It could be like a slower pace type thing. I don't know if it's going to be slow pace because Zhumagulov likes to, he seems to pace up.
Here's the thing. When he fought against when Paiva fought De La Rosa, he landed 54 significant strikes and 1 knockdown. The fight was ended in the second round by TKO. Mark De La Rosa, he's a very, very nice like boxer, which we talked about before. He's not a good MMA fighter, and I think that's the easiest fight Paiva's ever going to get. Zhumugulov's going to come in there and hit him way harder, look weird, have strange reads. He's not going to just stand there and wait to box. He's going to throw kicks too. I don't think it's going to score well. I think the best that Paiva's probably ever going to score in his career was against De La Rosa.
Okay. Fair enough.
So I think it's only downside from here. Like, unless he starts to change, if he really puts time in, if he goes to ATT, if he starts modifying.
He's got some skills. I mean, he's looked fast and accurate at times, but he doesn't have much, doesn't have a whole toolkit.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so I mean, this is a fight for DraftKings for betting. If you want to bet on Zhumagulov, good. Go for it. You got plus odds. It could be interesting. Am I suggesting you bet your house? No way. I think probably Paiva wins. I think he wins by decision. I think it scores okay on DraftKings, but not ideal.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on it. Let's go to Karol Rosa versus Mello.
Yeah, so we should keep these last two short because I think we're like way over the average time here. But,
I mean, this is probably a sloppy.
It's a triple. Brawl.
I mean, this is probably like a pretty sloppy fight.
It's a triple championship fight night, though, so we get an extra 10 minutes this time.
Yeah, but I mean, Rosa and Mello is probably a slop fest, right?
Okay. That's what I see. Kind of. So Karol Rosa, the only reason why she's such a highly favored person is in her last fight, she landed like 179 significant strikes, which is nutty for a female fighter to do at any point in their career. So she lands them. I watched about 178 of them in detail, and they're super light. They're like, she landed probably 40 kicks to the inside leg. There was no bruise at the end of that fight.
Mm-hmm.
So she throws super high volume. She throws combinations. She doesn't move her head. She's flat-footed, but she throws combinations.
Or
so it's like
in the air.
She's like halfway there to being good, but like she's got probably the harder part done, like engage and throw combinations. But she needs to work on head movement. She needs to work on feints. Like there's some things that she needs to add. Anyways, it's not going to happen next week, but she's going to go in there. She throws, I think it's like a 1-2-1 and then like an inside kick. So she's throwing like 4 strikes at a time, and she will typically hit you with 3 or 4 of them. And she'll keep throwing that over and over because even if you return fire, she's landing 40 or 1. And like the judges are like, yep. And so she's winning rounds. That's all she wants to do is stand there. And if you punch her in the face, it's fine. Vanessa Melo's output is so dramatically lower, though. It's like almost impossible to imagine a world where she can win because she's throwing like 1 strike to this girl's like 25 is like the ratio that's going to happen. I mean, it's not like something ludicrous, like the odds. And also her striking is bad. She basically throws a right kind of like check, a right overhand, like over and over and over again to close the distance, and then doesn't do anything after that. So I think it's almost impossible. And I don't think Vanessa Melo has enough power to like hurt her bad and then finish her. I don't think she has any wrestling. I think she's lost 2 fights already, and she's on her way out of the UFC.
Okay. So that's that. We'll go to the last fight in the card, Martin Day versus, well, I guess it would be the first fight in the card, but Martin Day versus Davey Grant.
Yeah.
My analysis of this, Martin Day should have gotten the nod in his win against, or in his fight against Pena.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
I mean, he should have. That's his fight. He won that fight.
I was looking for ways he didn't, and I couldn't find it. Like
he's pretty smooth. He's a little bit flashy. He's Hawaiian, so he's tough as shit.
Coconut bombs, baby. Coconut bombs.
But he's gonna want to keep this fight on the feet. I don't know if he's improved his grappling at all. But I was honestly not. I thought his striking was pretty good. I was a little bit impressed by it. I think that this fight is going to be contested on the feet because Grant doesn't. He's not like going to especially try to wrestle. I think he's just kind of like one of these average, like really first guy on the card type fighters. And I think this fight's going to stay standing, and I think Day's going to beat him. That's basically what my analysis is.
Yeah, I mean,
and Day could finish too because he's like he's got some interesting strikes. I mean, he's a good striker.
It seems reasonable. Also, I didn't look at this for everyone, but Martin Day does have like a 4.5-inch reach advantage, which is statistically important. Slight height advantage. He's Japanese, it says, so whatever that means. But he throws it twice the volume of Davey Grant. So Davey Grant's a striker. Martin Day's a striker. I'll take the guy who's throwing 7 strikes per minute landed versus a guy taking 3. I think he's just going to out-volume, and I think if it does go to the ground, it's probably a wash. Martin Day has an 85% takedown defense, and one thing you see in David Grant's fights is that he will go for takedowns, but they're slop. Like these aren't like power double legs. He's more or less like knows that a takedown is a thing and is trying to like impose it, and if he can get it, great, but he doesn't get it often. I think Martin Day is going to probably make him pay for that, and he's going to light him up. How fast does it go?
He is Hawaiian.
On the UFC website, this is from Japan.
He's from Hawaii.
Well, wherever he's from the greater Pacific Rim, I will welcome him to Abu Dhabi to go finish Davey Grant. But I think probably it's a decision. Also, in the fights that he's had, like we can take a look at this and see, like just his history.
Taekwondo master too. Taekwondo, Martin Day.
Oh, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, it's kind of hit or miss. Like he's only got one fight
with Max Holloway.
What's that?
He's a sparring partner of Max Holloway. Teammate of Max Holloway.
That's cool. Maybe he's living in Hawaii, but it says he's from Japan, so I have no idea.
Oh, that's possible. He might have been born there and now he's living in
the fight against Ping Yuan Liu in his last fight. I thought he won.
In China.
So it was in Beijing. It was in Beijing. So it's like, you got a Chinese judge in Beijing. Like, please don't take my visa, but like, it's Beijing, right? Like,
and he's not going to let the dude born in Japan win, is he?
Nah, probably not. So I thought he looked good. I thought he probably won his debut in all actuality. Davey Grant is nothing special. I think he's probably going to bounce around a little bit and get lit up. I see this being a decision on the feet, and probably Martin Day wins on a point-based decision. DraftKings shouldn't be anything amazing. I think that's probably all you're going to see.
All right. Well, shout out to KO Jesus. We're excited for this card. Sorry that we talked y'all's heads off.
I'm not though. Three championship fights. Like this is the card to go along.
What can we do?
Who else is doing long form commentary on a bunch of guys fighting on Yas Marina Island?
Yeah, I don't know, but let's get excited, let's get pumped, and let's win some money, everybody. So we'll see you guys later.
Yeah, good luck. Please leave a comment, especially if you're not a bot. We got a few bots last time. It was nice. But if you're not a bot,
like and subscribe.
If you like Pellegrino, if you have any questions, send it our way. Thank you.